This is one I didn't mention in my other video because it came out in 2008. This is Quarantine, which is a remake of a Spanish film called Rec. And Rec I really want to see because it's supposedly one of the best horror movies ever made. But I don't own a Spanish region-specific DVD player, so that's just too bad. It's another one of those films that's shot through only one camcorder, much like The Blair Witch Project or Cloverfield. And ironically, it also shares a lot of the same problems that Cloverfield had. The first being that for the first 20 minutes of the film, nothing happens. The first 20 minutes of the film is just filler. They could have spent 5 minutes at the fire station and gone right on to the apartment complex. But you know what? Then they would have had a different problem. The film would have only been 60 minutes long. Is it really necessary for them to show us how a Dalmatian could demonstrate for a 5-year-old how to put themselves out if they were on fire? Did they really have to show us what firemen used to get up to higher levels in buildings during the 50s? Well, if that's what you want out of your horror movie, this movie's got it. So before you get to anything remotely interesting in the film, you're basically sitting there for 20 minutes watching what is the equivalent of a PBS documentary on firehouses. One thing I found funny about this movie was, even when nothing has happened, if these people see a dark room, they just kind of creep in there looking all scared like something's going to jump out and get them. I mean, if you see a dark room, do you creep in there thinking monsters are going to get you? No, you walk in and you turn the f***ing light on. The basic story of the film is that this camera crew is shadowing a group of firefighters for the night, and they get a call to go to this apartment complex. So they go in there, and for some reason, the government is outside, and they seal off this place. They quarantine, quotations, they quarantine it, and these people are trapped inside, and they don't know what's going on, and there's zombies inside. I actually thought this was a good idea. Because it answers the question that most of these kinds of movies don't. Why don't people just leave the haunted house? One huge thing that I have trouble getting past is that, first of all, there is no way in hell that they would have kept it secret that there were people in there. Because first of all, there's a woman who keeps talking about how her husband is outside, and he would be like, no, f*** you, my wife is in there, I have to save her, or get her out of there. Why the hell are you telling me she's not in there? Because I know she's in there. And the fire chief would have said, no, I sent a squad of my guys in there, let me get them out. The police would have said, no, we sent 2 officers in there, they're still in there. And the government in the film isn't believable at all, because they don't just try to keep the people in there, they do stuff that actually inhibits their survival. Like, why the f*** do they need to turn the power off? So the zombies can get them easier? Because the government knows that there's zombies in there, and that there's also people in there. So what the f*** is the point of turning the power off? But okay, I watched the movie saying, okay, let's say the US government is just a super evil organization that just wants to kill its citizens. Okay, let's watch the movie assuming that. Even more baggage carried by this movie, that I'm not really bothered by, but I'm sure some people will be, is that the cameraman carries the camera the whole time. You're not going to do that in a life-threatening situation, because when you're looking through a camera lens, you have no peripheral vision. So, and you need your hands also, when you're holding that camera, to get up railings so you don't fall. But I can understand that that's the, style of the movie, so that doesn't really bother me at all. The problem is that you never really get to the point where you're rooting for these people that they'll live, because the film is so boring that you're just waiting for stuff to happen. You're just like, okay, I could sacrifice a few of these people for anything to be going on in this film. And even when something does happen, this is what the action shot looks like. I don't get why the director of this film can't understand that it's impossible to discern what's going on when the camera is shaking like that. Another reason that no one could ever possibly care for anyone in this movie is that the people in this movie are so excruciatingly stupid. And this is why you gotta give the remake of Dawn of the Dead credit, because those people knew how to handle zombies. These people do not know how to handle zombies. Here's how you handle someone who's been bitten by a zombie, just like in the Dawn of the Dead, the remake. You lock them in a room, And then, if and when they turn, you shoot them in the head. Here's how people in this movie handle zombies. Exactly. I mean, you have a scene where this person turns into a zombie, bites the crap out of the person next to her, runs upstairs, and then this guy follows her, and she's standing there, and he walks over, and he's like, "It's gonna be okay. We're not gonna hurt you," like with his arms stretched out, and you're like, "No, you fucking idiot! You're not gonna hurt her! She's gonna hurt you! You just saw her eat somebody, you moron!" It is impossible to feel remorse for someone who died in such an idiotic manner. He might as well have just said, "Here's my neck, you want to take a taste? Here, I'll lather some gravy all over it. Looks tasty, huh?" This film reminded me a lot of Evil Dead in that the people are so stupid. But unlike Quarantine, Evil Dead is actually a very, very tense movie. I mean, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. But in this film, you're just bored. Oh, and just like Evil Dead, the ending sucks ass. There's actually a really good joke I could do with this movie poster on screen, but if I do, it'll spoil the movie for you. You'll get it if you see it, though. But it's really not worth it. And if that isn't enough to deter you from it, all the stuff I just gave you, here, I'll do an impression of the audio for the last 30 minutes of the movie.